Ladies, listen, I know that brother got a jawline that could cut diamonds. I know he smelled like success and sin at the same time. I know that walk, smooth, that smile, whew. But I came here today to give y'all a PSA. Cute don't equal commitment. Fine don't mean future. And sexy ain't the same as serious. Can I get a mm-hmm? You ever notice how some people only show up when it benefits them? That one person who disappears like a magician when you need support but reappears like clockwork when they need something? Yeah, that's not love, that's not loyalty, that's not partnership, that's convenience, dressed up in a sharp suit or wrapped in a sweet miss you text. And if you ain't careful, it'll fool you. See, here's the truth nobody tells you. Consistency is love's resume. It's how someone proves they're not just here for the ride, they're here for the work, the weather, and the waiting. Because anybody can love you on a good day. Anybody can bring flowers on a birthday or show up to your success. But what about the random Tuesday when your world is falling apart? What about when you're sick, tired, ugly, crying, or just not feeling like your best self? That's when consistency steps up. That's when you see who's real and who's just rehearsing. Let me break this down in real life terms. Imagine you had a friend who only calls when they need a ride. They never check in on you, never ask how your day went. But the second their car breaks down, boom, hey, you up. That ain't a friend, that's a user. But the problem is, in relationships we overlook that. We tell ourselves, well, he's just busy, or he's got a lot on his plate. Nah, no one is too busy for who they care about. People make time for priorities. People invest where they see value. So ask yourself, is this man consistent, or is he just convenient? Does he only show up when he's lonely, when he wants something physical, when he's bored or broke? Do you only hear from him at night or when he's in between something else? Does he cancel plans last minute but still post on social media like he living his best life? Baby girl, if that man can post a pic, he can send a text. If he got time to scroll, he got time to check in. Don't let anyone confuse effort with emergency. Now listen close, cause this part might sting a little. We accept convenience when we're afraid consistency doesn't exist. When we don't believe someone will actually show up for us, we settle for half shows and sweet nothings. But you deserve more than maybe. You deserve more than the bare minimum. You deserve someone who checks on your heart, not just your body. Someone who doesn't just come around when it's fun, but stays when it's hard. That's the difference. Let's talk about a job. Imagine you go into work, you give your all, and your boss only shows up once a month to tell you you look good today. No raise, no feedback, no support. Just one compliment and a smile. You'd quit that job. You'd say, this ain't worth my time. So why do we stay in emotional jobs that pay us in crumbs? Consistency says I choose you even when it's not convenient for me. Consistency says I remember what matters to you because you matter to me. Consistency says I won't let you carry the weight of this relationship alone. A man who is consistent will text you not because he has to, but because he wants to know how your day is going. He'll remember your interview, your period cravings, your mom's name, because he's paying attention. That ain't simping. That's emotional maturity. That's respect. That's investment. Think about it like a plant. You don't water a plant once a week, ignore it for 6 days and expect it to thrive. Nah, a real gardener checks the soil, moves the pot toward the sun, waters it even when it's cloudy. That's love. That's consistency. Convenience will love you when you're blooming. Consistency will love you when you're buried in dirt and still trying to grow. Don't confuse occasional affection with genuine intention. If his presence is unpredictable, if his words don't match his actions, if his effort is seasonal, he's not consistent, he's convenient, and that kind of love will starve you, slowly, quietly, until you don't even recognize yourself in the mirror anymore. You start asking, is it me? No, it's not you. You just gave full-time loyalty to someone who is on part-time energy. That's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to stop the cycle. You want to see consistent. Look at how people show up in your lowest moments. Look at who checks in when you stop checking first. Look at who stays when you've got nothing to offer but silence and a tired soul. Because love isn't just about showing up, it's about staying. And if he can't show up when it's inconvenient, trust me, he won't last when it's real. You ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift even though nothing was said? Ever shook someone's hand and something in you whispered something's off? That's your intuition talking. That's your inner wisdom, your God-given alarm system. It don't shout. It don't come with flashing lights, but it's always on time. And too many of us out here ignoring it in the name of potential and maybe he'll change. Let me tell you something. Intuition don't lie, but we lie to ourselves trying to quiet it down. That little twist in your stomach when he says she's just a friend but you feel a storm brewing. That weird silence when you ask a question and he dodges it with a smile. That feeling of exhaustion, not from life but from always having to play detective in your own relationship. That's not paranoia. That's not insecurity. That's your spirit, your soul, and your future self begging you to listen. We've been taught to second guess ourselves, to doubt that wish, to label it crazy, emotional, too much. But let me break this down for you. Your intuition is not drama, it's discernment. It's your life GPS. And every time you ignore it, you end up lost, wondering how you got into yet another relationship that broke you instead of built you. Let me give you a real-world example. Imagine you walk into a restaurant. The lights are low, the music is nice, but the chicken smell a little funny. You poke it, sniff it, and something in you says, this ain't right. Now you could eat it. You could convince yourself you're just imagining things, but deep down you know something's off. You eat it anyway, and 3 hours later, stomach flipping like an Olympic gymnast. Why? Because you ignored the warning. You knew, but you didn't act on it. Same goes with people. Sometimes they smile right, talk smooth, and say all the right things, but something in your chest feels tight. You ask a question and his answer sounds practiced, rehearsed, empty. Something feels off, and yet we go forward. We hope we're wrong. We pray love can fix what intuition already told us is broken, and then when it falls apart, we don't even blame them. We blame ourselves for not listening sooner. You ever meet someone and from day one your energy just ain't right around them, but they fine, right? Got that smooth talk, a little swagger, nice cologne, so you talk yourself into ignoring the red flags. You say, I'm just being picky. Nah, you being protected. And if you don't respect your intuition, you gonna end up learning through pain what you could have learned through people. See, God speaks to us in different ways. Sometimes it's through people, sometimes through signs, but a lot of the time it's through silence and subtlety, through that quiet tug in your spirit that says this ain't it. And when you feel that, listen. Don't wait for proof. Don't wait for the betrayal, the heartbreak, the unanswered calls to validate what you already knew in your spirit. Because let me tell you, that voice inside, that's your guardian, and the longer you ignore it, the louder the lesson gets. Intuition don't argue, it don't explain it just knows. It's been gathering data from your past, your trauma, your healing journey, and it knows what danger looks like even when it's disguised as romance. Even when it wears a suit, drives a nice car, and says all the right things. You know it's why. We trust GPS to tell us how to get across town, but don't trust our own soul to tell us who shouldn't be in our life. We put more faith in a Google map than the voice that lives inside us. That's wild. Let me tell you something else. Intuition don't just show up when things are, it also guides you to what's right. You ever meet someone and your whole body relaxes, like your heart just knows you can breathe here? That's intuition too. It's not just a warning system, it's a compass. It don't just scream danger, it whispers. It says you can trust this space. But if your gut never relaxes, if your peace always feels threatened, if you feel like you're always performing or pretending, that ain't love, that's survival. And baby girl, love should feel like home, not a war zone, not a guessing game, not a constant state of confusion. You want to know if he's the one. Don't just check your heart, check your peace. Do you feel calm when he texts or anxious? Do you feel safe in silence with him, or are you constantly trying to fill it with noise? Do you trust what he says, or are you always double-checking behind his words? Stop silencing your inner voice to keep someone else comfortable. Stop betraying your soul for the illusion of companionship. Because when you ignore your intuition, you don't just lose time, you lose pieces of yourself. And every time you override that whisper, you teach yourself that other people's comfort matters more than your clarity. That's not love. That's sacrifice, and you weren't built to bleed for someone else's convenience. Let me tell you something you may not want to hear, but you need to. Emotional maturity is not optional. It's non-negotiable. You can be handsome, you can be rich, you can have the smoothest talk, but if you can't handle your emotions, if you can't communicate your feelings, if you can't show up as a grown adult, then nothing else matters. Nothing. Think about it. How many times have you been in a relationship or seen someone in one where the emotional roller coaster was more intense than the actual connection? 1 minute they're sweet, giving you all the love in the world. The next they're cold, distant, and you're left to wonder, what the hell just happened? If he doesn't have the emotional maturity to deal with his highs and lows, then you are not in a relationship. You're in a circus, and trust me, nobody wants to live in one. Let's get real here. Emotional maturity is the foundation of a healthy relationship. It's like the foundation of a house. You can build a house with all the marble floors and gold-plated faucets you want, but if the foundation is shaky, that house is coming down. Same with your relationship. You can have the most romantic dates, the best vacations, the perfect photos, but if you can't talk about your feelings, if you can't handle disagreements like an adult, if you're still throwing temper tantrums when things don't go your way, that relationship is built on sand. Emotional maturity means being able to look at your feelings, acknowledge them, and express them in a way that doesn't involve name-calling, shouting, or shutting down. It means being able to say I'm hurt and not make the other person feel like they're at fault for your feelings. It's being able to take responsibility for your actions, to say I messed up without the need for excuses or blame shifting. I see this all the time in relationships. One person might start an argument over something small, maybe a forgotten text or a comment that didn't sit right, and the other person, instead of responding calmly, blows up. They get defensive, they point fingers, they start listing out every single time you've done something wrong in the past, as if every single little mistake from the past 2 years is fair game in this conversation, and you're standing there thinking, what just happened? Why are we fighting about this? That's emotional immaturity. When you can't address a situation for what it is and instead turn it into an all-out war, you've lost the plot. A grown person, a person who knows how to navigate the emotional complexities of a relationship, will stop, take a breath, and then approach the situation with understanding. They'll look at the problem from both sides, realize their own faults, and ask, how can we solve this together? You've got to understand that when you're emotionally immature, your partner's feelings don't matter. Your partner's needs get lost. Their voice gets drowned out by your outbursts, your insecurities, your pride, your ego. You've got to get to a place where your emotions don't control you. They don't dictate how you speak, how you act, how you love. If you let your emotions rule your actions, you're setting yourself up for failure. And it's not just about the big arguments either. Emotional maturity shows up in the small moments, the quiet, everyday moments, where you have to choose between holding on to your pride or letting it go. Like when he forgets something important and you feel that little sting of hurt. A mature person will say, hey, that hurt, instead of letting resentment build and turning it into something bigger than it needs to be. They'll acknowledge the feeling, express it, and move forward. But emotional immaturity makes everything feel like a competition, a constant struggle for dominance. If I don't win this argument, I've lost. No, baby. If you don't win this argument, you're winning the chance to grow together, to come to an understanding. Real emotional maturity means having self-control. When you have a disagreement, can you stay calm and communicate respectfully, or do you instantly go on the attack? Do you keep your cool when they say something that's hurtful, or do you throw your hands up and walk away, refusing to face the issue head-on? Real emotional maturity means that you are able to confront your emotions and your partner's emotions with compassion, understanding, and patience. Think about this. How many relationships have you seen or been in where it was just a constant back and forth, a cycle of emotional chaos? One person gets upset, the other withdraws, and then boom, weeks go by without anything being resolved. And this can happen even with people who genuinely care for each other. The lack of emotional maturity causes the connection to falter because both people are too busy defending their pride instead of building the bond. You end up growing distant and confused, wondering where the closeness went. That's because without emotional maturity, your relationship becomes a constant tug of war and both of you get tangled in the ropes. The hardest part about emotional maturity is learning how to take responsibility for yourself even when it's difficult. It's realizing that your partner is not the enemy. Your feelings are valid, but so are theirs. Emotional maturity is the willingness to listen even when you don't want to. It's the courage to apologize even when your ego tells you that you shouldn't have. It's learning how to compromise, how to meet halfway, how to put the relationship first instead of yourself. But you know what? It's worth it. Because when two emotionally mature people come together, they can weather anything. The storms will come, the disagreements will happen, but when you know how to handle your emotions, you create a safe space for both of you. You build a partnership that's strong, one that can endure not because of perfect harmony, but because you both know how to navigate the hard times with grace, understanding, and love. If you're looking for someone to build with, someone to create a future with, look for someone who's emotionally mature, because without that, nothing else will last. You ever been in a relationship where you felt like you were carrying the whole weight of it? You know what I'm talking about, where you're doing everything to make it work, bending over backward, trying to be everything they need, but somehow it feels like you're just draining. You're giving your all, but at the end of the day, you're empty. You're worn out, like a battery that's been overcharged and never recharged. That's not love, baby. That's exhaustion. That's survival. Love is supposed to lift you. It's supposed to fill you up, make you feel like you can conquer the world. not tear you down and leave you questioning who you are and what you deserve. Love is supposed to give you wings, not clip them. And if you're in a relationship where you feel like you're constantly dragging, if you feel more depleted than inspired, it's time to wake up. You've been settling for less than what you're worth and you deserve more. Let's break this down. Have you ever been around someone who just made you feel good about being yourself? I'm talking about that person who sees you for who you are, your flaws, your strengths, your dreams, and still builds you up. When you talk to them, you feel heard, you feel valued, like you matter. You walk away from that conversation not only with your head held higher, but with your heart filled up. That's the kind of love you deserve. A love that makes you feel seen, appreciated, and respected. But then there's the other side of the coin. You know that feeling when you're constantly trying to get validation, constantly trying to make the other person happy, but no matter what you do, it's never enough. You're trying so hard to fill up the space between you, to keep things together, but it feels like you're always fighting an uphill battle. Every compliment feels forced, every effort feels unnoticed. And deep down you start asking yourself, is this what love is supposed to feel like? No, it's not. That's not love. That's a weight, a burden, a one-way street that you're driving down alone. Love should lift you in the hardest moments. It should be the thing that helps you stand taller when you've been knocked down. It's not supposed to make you shrink into yourself. It should make you believe in yourself more, even when the world is telling you that you're not enough. The right love encourages you to grow, to become better, to stretch toward the person you know you can be. It's not about staying small to make someone else feel comfortable. It's about both of you growing together, inspiring each other to reach new heights. Think about the moments in your life where you faced real challenges, loss, disappointment, failure. Who was there? Was there someone who helped you see the light even in the darkest moments? Who picked you up when you were down, not because they had to, but because they wanted to? That's the kind of love I'm talking about. The kind of love that doesn't run when things get tough, but digs in and stands beside you. It doesn't judge you for your mistakes. It doesn't hold your past against you. Instead, it sees your potential and helps you chase it. Too often we confuse love with dependency. We think that if someone needs us, if we're the ones always giving, then we're doing it right. But that's not the true nature of love. Love isn't about who needs who more. It's about who lifts who up. It's about who can stand beside you and cheer you on even when the world's against you. Real love builds you up. It doesn't break you down. Have you ever felt like you were walking on eggshells in your relationship, scared that one wrong move might make everything fall apart? That's not love. Love should feel safe. It should feel like home. And if you're constantly on edge wondering what's going to happen next, you're not in love. You're in survival mode. Love shouldn't make you second guess yourself. It should make you feel confident, secure, and valued. If you're with someone who constantly makes you feel small, who criticizes your every move, who makes you question your worth, that's not love. That's manipulation. Think of the people in your life who inspire you. Who do you look up to? Who do you admire for their strength, their kindness, their ability to lift others up? That's the kind of energy you want in your relationship. It should be filled with positivity, with growth, with joy, with peace. Love isn't supposed to suck the life out of you. It should inject your soul with something bigger than what you were before. It should expand your heart, not confine it. When you're with someone who lifts you, you can breathe easier. You can speak your truth without fear. You can show up in the world as your full, unapologetic self. And guess what? You'll inspire them to do the same. When you're both in the business of lifting each other up, you create a space where each person's dreams are supported, where both individuals are allowed to grow and evolve at their own pace. That's real partnership. So what does it really mean to be lifted by love? It means being with someone who doesn't just celebrate you when you're winning, but is there for you when you're losing. It means being with someone who doesn't just praise you for your accomplishments, but respects you for your struggle. It means being with someone who doesn't just love your smile, but loves the way your heart beats, your mind works, and the way you carry yourself through the world, imperfections and all. And I need you to understand this, because some of y'all have been stuck in situations where you've been settling for less, thinking that love was supposed to be hard or painful, or that you weren't worthy of a love that lifts you. But you are worthy. You are worthy of love that fills you up. You are worthy of a partner who sees you, hears you, and helps you become the best version of yourself. Never settle for less than that, because love should always lift you. You ever been in a relationship where you felt like you were the only one doing the work? Like you were the one who was always reaching out, always trying to make things right, always putting in the effort, but somehow the other person was just coasting? You know what I'm talking about? When you're the one putting in all the energy, all the love, all the patience, but you get nothing back. And after a while you start to wonder, is this really a relationship, or am I just carrying it by myself? Here's the thing, Relationships are mutual. That means both people have to show up. Both people have to contribute. It's not a one-way street. And it's not a situation where one person is just there to take while the other gives. That's not how it works. It's not fair, and it's not healthy. Real relationships are built on mutual respect, mutual effort, and mutual love. If you're the only one doing the work, the relationship is going to crumble sooner or later. It's a matter of time. I want you to think about this for a second. You've been putting in the effort, right? You've been the one who's been calling, texting, planning dates, offering emotional support, trying to make everything work, but somehow they never seem to step up. They never seem to meet you halfway. Maybe they're too busy. Maybe they're distracted. Maybe they don't have the time. But at some point you have to ask yourself, how much longer are you willing to carry this? You've got to understand something. Relationships are a partnership. There should be a balance between the two people involved. If you're always the one running the marathon while the other person is just walking behind you, how long can you keep up that pace before you collapse? How long can you keep giving your all to someone who's not matching your energy? The truth is you can't, because you're only human. And no matter how much you love someone, no matter how much you care, you need to have someone who is right there beside you, giving just as much as you are. Think about the relationships in your life, whether romantic or friendship. The strongest, most fulfilling ones are the ones where both people are present, where both people are invested. That doesn't mean it's always equal. There are times when one person needs more and the other has to step up, but it should balance out over time. If one person is always the caregiver, always the provider, always the one who listens, always the one who makes sacrifices, eventually that person is going to burn out, and you don't want that. Mutual effort means showing up not just when it's easy but also when it's hard. It's about being there for someone when they're at their lowest, even if you've got your own problems to deal with. It's about being the person who encourages them to chase their dreams, but also the one who challenges them when they're being lazy, unmotivated, or stagnant. It's about having each other's backs, no matter what. Take a moment to think about the times when you've been really tested in your relationships. Maybe it was when you lost your job, when you were going through a tough family situation, or when you just felt drained by life. Who stood by you, even when things weren't perfect? That's the mutuality I'm talking about. That's what a real relationship looks like. It's not about perfection. It's about showing up day in and day out and saying, I'm here, I've got you. Whether things are great or whether things are falling apart, both people have to make the choice to invest. Now let me be clear, this doesn't mean that it's always going to be 50-50 every single day. Life happens. There are going to be times when one person needs more than the other, and that's okay. But the key here is that there has to be give and take. It has to be a cycle where both people are giving what they can when they can. If you're in a relationship where you feel like you're doing all the giving and they're doing all the taking, that's a major red flag. That's when you need to step back and ask yourself, am I really being loved here? Am I really in a partnership, or am I just in a one-sided relationship? You've heard it before. Relationships take work, and they do, but they don't just take work from one person. They take work from both sides. And the beautiful thing is, when both people are in it together, when both people are committed to each other, the work doesn't feel like work at all. It feels natural. It feels easy, because you're not carrying the load by yourself. You're sharing the burden and you're celebrating the victories together. That mutual effort is what makes the good times even sweeter. When you're both working toward a common goal, whether it's building a future together, supporting each other's growth, or just finding happiness in the everyday moments, you both get to enjoy the reward. And let's be real, when you're in a relationship that's mutual, it brings out the best in you. You show up as the best version of yourself because you know that the other person is doing the same. Mutual respect is also a huge part of this. You have to respect each other's time, space, emotions, and dreams. You have to listen when they talk, just like you want them to listen when you talk. You have to make room for their needs, their opinions, and their feelings. And when both people respect each other, it creates a relationship that's rooted in trust. Trust that the other person will show up. Trust that they'll be there when you need them. Trust that they'll love you for who you are, not who they want you to be. So ask yourself, are you in a relationship where both people are giving and receiving equally? Where both of you are putting in the effort to make each other feel valued, respected, and loved? Because if not, you've got to make some hard choices. Don't settle for a relationship where you're carrying everything. You deserve someone who will meet you halfway, someone who will walk with you, side by side, through the highs and lows. Relationships are mutual, and if you're not getting that mutual effort, it's time to reassess. You ever been stuck in a situation where everything seemed fine, not great,
not awful, just fine, maybe in a relationship, a job, or even with yourself, and you tell yourself, it's fine, everything's fine, I'm just going through a phase, but deep down you know that something's not right, something's off, but you convince yourself that fine is good enough. You know what I'm talking about. You settle for fine, because it's easier than facing the reality of what's actually happening. But let me tell you something, fine ain't forever. Fine is temporary. Fine is the middle ground. It's the place where you go when you don't want to deal with the truth. But here's the thing. Fine doesn't last. Eventually the cracks start showing. Eventually the pretending catches up with you. You can't run forever. And the reality you've been ignoring is going to demand attention. Think about it. How many people do you know who stay in relationships that are fine for years? The spark is gone. The passion is gone. But they stay because it's comfortable. It's easier than breaking up. It's easier than confronting the fact that they've outgrown each other, or that they're no longer happy. They tell themselves it's fine, it's not perfect, but it's okay. And day by day the emotional distance widens. They become roommates instead of partners. They stop sharing their hopes, their fears, their dreams. They stop growing together. They're not fighting anymore because they've given up trying. But that doesn't mean they're winning. Fine doesn't mean happy. And it sure as hell doesn't mean fulfilled. Now let me hit you with some fine is a trap. It's the most dangerous state to be in because it makes you believe that nothing is wrong. But fine is where your dreams go to die. It's where your potential gets buried under the weight of apathy. Fine is where your motivation fades. It's where you stop trying, stop pushing, stop believing that there's more to life than just getting by. Fine is the enemy of greatness. Fine is what happens when you give up on becoming the best version of yourself, because you've convinced yourself that fine is enough. Think about the last time you were in a situation where you were just going through the motions, where everything was fine but not exciting, not fulfilling, not passionate. Maybe it was a job you hated, but you told yourself it was fine. Maybe it was a friendship that didn't make you feel good, but you told yourself, it's fine, they're just having a rough time. Maybe it was your health, where you felt run down all the time but you thought, it's fine, I'll deal with it later. How long did you let yourself stay in that? How long did you let yourself settle for less than what you deserve? Now think about the difference between fine and great. When you're living in greatness, you feel alive, you feel driven, you feel like you're walking towards something bigger than yourself. Greatness doesn't happen by accident. Greatness happens when you refuse to settle for fine. It happens when you push yourself to grow, to challenge yourself, to break free from mediocrity. But here's the catch. You can't step into greatness until you let go of fine. You can't have the life you dream of until you stop accepting the life that's just okay. I'll give you an example from my own life. I remember a time when I was stuck in a fine job. It wasn't the worst job in the world, but it wasn't the job that lit me up either. It didn't excite me, didn't make me feel fulfilled, didn't push me to be better. It was just fine. I could have stayed there, it was safe. I knew what to expect every day. But deep down I knew I was capable of more. I knew I had dreams that weren't being met, potential that wasn't being tapped into. I was telling myself, it's fine, at least I have a job. But after a while, that fine started to eat away at me. I started feeling restless. I started feeling like I was wasting my life. I realized that if I didn't make a change, I'd wake up 5 years later in the exact same spot, still fine, still stuck. I had to ask myself, what am I really willing to settle for? I knew I deserved more. I knew I wasn't meant to live a fine life. And so I made the decision to step into the unknown. I left the job that was fine, and started chasing the career that I truly wanted. It wasn't easy, it wasn't instant, but I can tell you right now, I've never looked back. I chose to let go of fine, so I could step into greatness. Here's the lesson, you can't expect things to change, unless you're willing to make the change. If you're just hanging on to what's fine, nothing's going to get better, nothing's going to improve. If you're stuck in a fine relationship, nothing's going to change, unless you decide to either fix it or move on. If you're stuck in a fine job, nothing's going to change, unless you take action to pursue your dream. If you're not happy with your life, nothing's going to change, unless you stop accepting fine and start aiming for something more. It's easy to settle, it's easy to stay in your comfort zone, and tell yourself that fine is good enough. But let me tell you something, you deserve more than fine. You deserve to wake up every day feeling excited, feeling motivated, feeling like you're living in your purpose. Fine isn't the standard you were made for. You were made for greatness, and that starts when you decide that fine isn't enough anymore. So what's it going to be? Are you going to keep settling for fine, or are you going to start reaching for something better? Because fine might feel safe, But safe will never make you feel alive. Safe will never push you to be the person you were always meant to be. Fine might keep you comfortable, but comfortable won't bring you fulfillment. Fine is temporary, but greatness is yours for the taking. All you have to do is stop settling and start striving. So as you stand here today, ask yourself, what are you willing to settle for? Are you going to keep telling yourself that fine is enough? Or are you ready to make the choice to step out of the comfortable, the safe and the mediocre? The choice to step into a life that challenges you, that excites you, that makes you feel alive every single day. I'm here to tell you that you were not born to be fine. You were born to be extraordinary. You were born to live a life that sets your soul on fire, that fills you with purpose, passion and fulfillment. But that starts with one decision, the decision to no longer settle for fine. When you make that decision, when you start to refuse the comfort of just getting by, you open up a world of possibilities, a world where your dreams, your potential and your greatness are waiting for you. So go ahead, let go of fine, and step into the life you were meant to live. It's time, your greatness awaits.